All
Yeah,
right. Are we live?
I guess so.
We're live. Welcome
What's
back.
up?
Everybody take a seat. Shuffle on in. It's just me and Vince today.
That's right.
How are you, buddy?
I'm all right, man. Got my green on. It's St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing the Oakland Coliseum hat. I had a green shirt on underneath, and teal is close enough to green between blue and green, so I threw on a Sharks jersey too, just for good measure.
There you go.
Yeah. How about you?
I got no green on, so
Getting pinched.
everybody
Billy's
can
just gonna
pinch
pinch the
me.
crap out of you, huh?
Everybody in the chat, give me a pinch.
That's right. Drop a pinch emoji if you got it.
Um, well, it's kind of hard for me to wear green when I'm at work because not that I have like a work uniform, but it's just I don't have
Right.
anything green to put on for work, so
Uh,
that's my
it
excuse.
it used to be a lot easier for me to wear green at work because I had like an A's polo shirt and I would just throw that bad boy on. But not no more. Don't have it anymore. It's gone.
All right,
So
Vince,
yeah,
let's talk about some sports
that's right.
because there's a good amount of stuff to get through, so, why don't you lead us off on our first topic of the day?
All right. So the title of today's episode is Legends Being Legendary. And the first thing we're going to talk about is Steph Curry and the Warriors. So they win all three games this week. They win on Monday against Portland by 10. They get a blowout victory at home against Sacramento on Thursday. And in that game, the legend Steph Curry hits his 4,000th career three-pointer. 4,000 threes.
Jesus.
Good Lord.
When he did this the other night, I told Julia, I said, like, I probably haven't even taken 4,000 shots in my life,
I know, right?
let alone making 4,000 shots.
Good grief. Yeah. They also followed that up on a Saturday with a 3-point win against the Knicks in a defensive struggle. The defense is really good now. They were already like figured it out for the most part without Jimmy, but then when Jimmy Butler came, like this defense is top tier now. So as the standings sit at the end of yesterday, they are 39 wins and 28 losses. They're currently sitting in sixth in the West. When I look at the standings in the Western Conference, these are getting real tight, man. Basically, they're 3.5 games outside of the number 2 seed. Okay, with God, like where are we at? 15, 16 games left to go, something like that, right around there. Yeah, so we're right in the mix there. The Lakers are in the 5 seed. They're only a game and a half in front. They won their last game after dropping like 4 in a row. So and Memphis is in 4th. They're let's see, do the quick math on 3.5 games uh out on us. Actually, there's a 3-way tie for second. Houston, Denver, and Memphis. They're all 43 wins, 25 losses. So
Yeah,
realistically,
if
man,
we can beat Denver tonight, we would see the Warriors wouldn't jump the Nuggets with this win, but we would see the Nuggets fall, and that'd be pretty
yeah, the Nuggets would fall to the 4 seed,
right.
presumably. Yeah, and I mean you're only 3 games back in the loss column too. So the Warriors do have that game in hand over all of the teams that are ahead. Except the Lakers. The Lakers actually they're tied in terms of losses. They're all at 25 losses. The Lakers have played 2 fewer games than Memphis, Denver, and Houston. So they're only at 41 wins and 25 losses.
Right.
So the Warriors are 3 games back in the loss column. That's very doable still. It's not going to be easy, but it's not impossible. Like we've seen bigger comebacks before, especially if you're playing these teams coming up, right? Upcoming schedule, you're playing Denver tonight. You're playing Milwaukee tomorrow. Then you have Toronto on Thursday, and you're at Atlanta on Saturday. So I'm just going to flip over to the Eastern Conference real quick. And just looking at that, Milwaukee, they're the 4 seed right now. They actually are almost the exact same record as the Warriors. They're 38 and 29. We're 39 and 28. So just one game better in terms of the win-loss record. Toronto, they're in the 11 seed right now. They are not going to make the playoffs. They're the top 10 teams in the East are pretty much locked in. It's just jostling for positioning at this point. Toronto is in the 11 seed, but they are 4.5 games back of Chicago, and they're just not going to catch Chicago, I don't think. Not with 15 games remaining, and just how terrible Toronto has been. And Atlanta is they're the 7th seed right now. They are still 4 games under 500 though. That's the way it is in the Eastern Conference, man. Your top 6 teams are all over 500, and everybody else is under, and that includes all of the play-in tournament teams.
It is so crazy to me that, since the Jimmy Butler trade,
Mhm.
just complete different directions, Golden State Warriors and the Miami Heat.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Miami Heat are trying to snap a 7-game losing streak.
Yeah. Yeah. Toronto's more likely to catch Miami, who's sitting in the 9 seed, before they catch Chicago.
Right.
You know?
Um, I want to a little impromptu. Is this did the Warriors strike gold, or is this fool's gold with the defense being this highly rated? What are they, number 2 in the league since the trade?
I think they came together and they've played. I mean, you would expect it to take some time to integrate, but it's been almost seamless adding Jimmy in, especially when Jimmy plays. I don't think they've lost. That one game that they've lost since he's come over, man, he didn't play that game. That was the Philly game, right? So yeah. So as far as the number 2 seed, the number 2 rated defense, I don't know if they're quite that good, but like overall, is it? But if you're, they were a top 10 defense before Jimmy. I think with Jimmy, they become a top 5 defense. They've been playing as the number 2 defense. So if you would have told me they would have jumped from 10 to 5, I'd have said that's exactly what I would have expected. 10 to 2, that feels a little bit more fortunate than I would have planned on. But I mean, with them coming together this quickly, it's hard to see where if it falls apart. I would expect it to fall apart real fast, like before the playoffs even start, if they start like showing weaknesses or whatever. But even then, if they just kind of level off a little bit and regress toward the mean just a little bit, I think it's still a top 5 defense. Like maybe they play, 5th or 6th going the
Right.
rest of the way or something, is them regressing to the
Absolutely.
mean. But yeah, that's what I kind of expected, because he's a great 2-way player. He hasn't really been doing much offensively though
Yeah,
recently.
he's
So
not really scoring. What did he do? 10 points the other night?
yeah, it's been, I think I read an article, it was like 12 points, 7 points, 10 points the last few games. So he's like it's still there though, and he can turn it on when he needs to, and I'm sure he will at some point before the playoffs even start. He'll get his turn. But God, it's so nice to be cheering for like an exciting team and a reason to watch again, man. That's really what I'm the most excited about. And the lockdown defense that they played on the Knicks, that game spoke more to me than the Sacramento or the Portland game this past week. I'll tell you that. That was a very impressive win. I caught the end of it. I was off doing family friend things, but I was able to get home in time and catch like basically the last half of the fourth quarter, and just like Gary Payton, with a couple of blocks at the end there, Steve Kerr opting to go with Gary Payton like in that closing 5 as well. Yeah.
My
So
my
I'm just,
my dad was over on Saturday night,
mhm.
and he doesn't watch much basketball. I go, "Why don't you watch it?" He's like, I don't know the rules. I don't know what they're doing." So, as the game was playing out, I was trying to explain, like, when I could, like, minor things, and one of the
Yeah.
things we were explaining was, like, Gary Payton the second being, little big man and playing that dunker spot. I'm like,
Mhm.
so I was like, "So you're gonna see him cut. He's just gonna cut across the court, and they're just gonna lob the ball to him. So that's what you're looking for."
Yeah.
like right when I was saying that, he dunked the ball. So it kind of worked out. And I was like, that's what you're looking for. So I was trying to show him like
Mhm.
the rhythmic patterns of what the Warriors are trying to do and how often they move and explaining, the basics, Curry playing with the ball in his hands and the ball without, not in his hands, off the ball, and what
Yeah.
does all this mean? Um, then right then they showed a graphic of how many miles Steph Curry runs in a basketball game and how much more it is than like the average basketball player
Oh, yeah.
because he's just running around over and over and over again, getting to those open
Mhm.
spots.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's Curry at his best in his prime, especially
right,
was he just you'd just be tired. You'd get like he'd run you off the court,
right.
and he's still draining threes in the fourth quarter like it's nothing.
Absolutely. And the Warriors offense, I mean, they just move and move like all of them are moving where I think the modern NBA there is like even when you compare it to like the Jordan era, like the 90s and 80s, like there's just a lot of like isolation one-on-one. So I think overall the league moves a lot more, but the Warriors move even more than the rest of the
Mhm.
league. Like how much movement and how many players are required to move. Because there's still a lot of times I'm watching, I do watch the Lakers. There are a lot of primetime games, so I'll watch the Lakers. Man, that offense can get really stagnant where it's just LeBron doing his thing. It's just Luca doing his thing, where everybody is just kind of out on the
Yeah, it's a clear
corners,
out. Yeah,
out,
yeah.
and then it's just Luca going to the cup.
Mhm.
Where I guess that, that works, but you gotta incorporate the rest of the team, and that's one of the reasons why like it's great that the Lakers made a big trade for Luca. That's a superstar. I think going forward, that's an amazing trade. I see the Lakers just not having enough depth to
Mhm.
sustain a legit run, and I think honestly I do think the Warriors are going to pass them. I
Yeah.
do think, like, the Warriors are probably gonna pass them. They'll probably be like a 5 or a 4, and I see the Lakers more of at that 6 or 7 spot because they're not looking too good, and LeBron's out for a couple of weeks, so they're
Mhm.
not gonna be at full strength. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
Warriors
and
got a big test tonight
yep.
with Denver, and I know there's a couple of guys that are potentially not gonna play for the Nuggets tonight. I really want them at full strength because I really wanna gauge,
Yeah, I
like,
want that measuring stick,
I
right? But
want
yeah.
that. Yeah, I wanna see that. So I'm really hoping that both teams can come into the game with as many superstars as they can because I really wanna see that matchup and talk about it even more.
Right. Yeah. All right. So just one more basketball note before we finish. March Madness, it's here. Uh the brackets are set. So if you're into that kind of thing, now's the time to fill out those brackets, and we'll just kind of keep track of how our brackets are doing, and we'll just give you a weekly report on how terrible my bracket has been. And and there we go. Like that's the update there. I really didn't watch much college basketball at all, so I'm going in blind. And honestly, that's been when I've actually tried and focused and paid attention, I haven't done quite as well. So if I'm gonna do all right in a bracket this year would be the one because I didn't focus on it at all. So I'm going in blind. I don't know what's happened really. I'm just gonna let the chips fall where they may, and I tend to do better on those kind of brackets situations. So we'll see. We'll see.
I
How about
have
you?
been the only college basketball I've honestly really been watching, and this is maybe a surprise for everybody out there watching. I've been watching St. Mary's and USF.
Okay.
Um, I and it's I have, Julia works for USF, and
Okay.
I knew a few people that went to St. Mary's, but I have
Right.
no loyalties. It's
Mhm.
just interesting that they're in the Bay Area and they have their little rivalry between USF and St. Mary's, and their teams are really good right now. Like both
Yeah.
teams are looking promising, and every year they're getting a little better. So I really hope my hope is that St. Mary's and USF, And eventually, I would love, Berkeley, their basketball program to be on the up and up, but they're
Yeah.
not right now. That's not a very good.
Speaking of Bay Area universities, on the women's side, Stanford is not in the tournament for the first time, probably this century.
Yeah,
I think it's at least 23 years, maybe it's even longer. Uh, Tara Vanderveer retired. She was the head coach for
yeah.
freaking decades, and so I think the program's in a little bit of a downward slope, but they are the I think they're the number 2 seed in the NIT tournament, which is the tournament right below the main one. So, um,
Well, I
good
think
luck to
I
everybody.
don't wanna segue too much, but I think both those schools, Cal and Stanford, their athletic departments are kind of a little bit in trouble. I mean, we talked a little bit about the pack and these schools leaving that I don't really think Cal or Stanford's gonna compete in the what are they in the
The
ACC or
ACC now,
yeah,
yeah.
which,
It's the Atlantic Coast Conference.
makes no sense.
California and Stanford. Yeah.
Makes no sense. I mean, on football, I just really don't see them competing
Yeah.
with these other schools.
Yeah,
And
Stanford might have a bounce year, like a a plus 500 year here and there, but Cal's basically they got to run into something real lucky.
exactly. So that's why I've been watching USF and St. Mary's is that they're Bay Area schools, their basketball programs are on the up, and they've just been really fun to watch during these tournaments. So that's who I've been watching. That's who I'm rocking with. Don't really have a dog in any of those fights, so I cheer for both of them. So
Fair enough. All right. With that, I think it's time we move from the hardwood to the ice, and let's
you
talk
you
about what
keep
the
going,
Sharks
Vince. I
did.
can hear you. I'm gonna shut my camera off real quick because I'm gonna fix this curtain. I look like I got the worst suntan
All right. Yeah.
ever.
Okay. Sounds good.
I can hear
I'll.
you. I can hear
Okay.
you.
Cool. Right on. So, this past week, the Sharks they started off on Tuesday. They took the loss. That was my pick for win of the week. I was kind of bullied into that a little bit because Tyler and Sam chose the easier game against Chicago, which the Sharks did win. And then Washington came to town. Ovechkin got a goal, and the Sharks lose 5-1. So their current standings are 18 wins, 41 losses, and 9 overtime losses. That is dead last everywhere. So upcoming games this week, you have Carolina on Thursday and Boston on Saturday. Boston is actually not in the playoff picture right as it stands right now. So I'm taking the easy out here for our win of the week. I'm taking Boston. I don't think they have a chance in hell against Carolina. So, but Sam, do you want to be brave and pick Carolina, or no? You're gonna go with
No,
Boston.
no,
No.
I'm gonna go with the safe bet.
That's fair. All right. So for our win of the week standings, Sam and Tyler are both at 9. I am in the dust. I don't think I can even come back at this point. So yeah, I'm 5 games back. I think there's only like 4 weeks left in the season. So so like I said, Ovechkin did get a goal. Or actually, hold on. Before we move on to that, let's just look at race to the bottom real quick.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh drug themselves out of our graphic. I've been showing the bottom 6 teams. They're ahead of Philly now. So Philly is now 6th from the bottom instead of Pittsburgh. And then you have Seattle. All the other teams stay the same. Buffalo and Seattle keep like trading positions basically, but Nashville is kind of caught up to Buffalo a bit too. And then you got Chicago and San Jose in the bottom. We get that win against Chicago, but Chicago got another win at some other point, so they're still 2 wins up, 4 points, and the Sharks continue to be in the driver's seat for the best chance at the number 1 overall pick, and then that's kind of the goal now. You've torn it down again, and there's nothing much left to sell. Like you sold off all the parts. Mike Greer did a fantastic job at ripping it down to the studs, right? And we talked about it a little bit last year. Apparently, there was still more to be traded, so that's been done. Here we are at the bottom, and
I mean, you
but
got
yeah,
I would have to believe there's nothing left to trade.
yeah,
I mean, I know there is, But I mean, you're gonna
of
start
any
trading away
value at
pieces.
least.
You're gonna
Yeah.
start trading away pieces that I would think you would wanna build around. Like,
Exactly. So there is some depth in like at every position in the minors right now. Eskarov is working his way back from injury in goalie. And I would expect he would at some point get another call up this year. And maybe start like the last game or two if he's able to go at some point. But if he's not, he's in prime position to be the number one tendy next season. And that's kind of all he wants is to have a path toward being the starter. When he was in the in Nashville system, they signed their starting goaltender to like that massive 8-year deal. And they signed a backup to a large deal as well, like a large years deal. So there was no room for him, and so that's why he demanded that trade. It wasn't because he demanded to be at the NHL level; it was because he needed. He demanded a spot where he had a
a
chance to be the
chance.
starter anytime soon, and I think he's in the limited time we've seen from him, he's earned that in my eye. You know, especially compared to everything else we have, well, the other dumpster fire that is Georgiev. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't think he's coming back next year either. So it'll be a Askarov and then probably some veteran cheap option as a backup starter up at the Sharks level. So and then you look at defense, you got the cupboard is not bare, although I'd like to see a little bit more. Sam Dickinson has been crushing it in the minors, and he's probably going to get um, he'll probably be invited to the camp at least for next season in preseason, and I would expect that he'd be pushing for making the opening day roster next year. So we'll see how that goes going forward. As and then just real quickly, as far as Ovechkin's chase toward overtaking Wayne Gretzky, he is 8 goals away. So
Yeah,
with
he's getting it.
yeah, he's getting it. There are 15 games remaining this season. It's kind of wild. He missed about like 14 games or something like that. He had like he broke a bone in his leg, I think, earlier this season, like in December. So the fact that he's still like when he got injured, I thought it was done for this year. The fact that it's close, that's kind of exciting. And like I said, 8 goals away, and there's 15 games remaining on the schedule for Washington. So it's possible, man. If they start feeding them, especially if they're up late, because they're a really good team. If they're up late, there's an empty net. He's out there, maybe throwing a couple of empty netters just to pad the stats a little bit. Could be nice. Could be fun. I really hope he gets it this year. I'm pretty sure he's coming back to play next year. So even if he doesn't get it this year, it's
Yeah, he's
that
gonna try to
record's
put it
going
out
to
of
be
reach.
his. Yeah, he turns 40 in September, so he's not quite 40 yet. That's wild. You know, that's insane to me. He's doing it like this at this level and at this age too, wow. I'm just in
Yeah.
awe of greatness. That's what it is. He's obviously an all-time great, surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's kind of crazy, man. I don't know what
It's
else to
crazy,
say.
like, I remember when Ovechkin and Crosby, made their debuts in hockey,
Hmm.
and we're about the same age. I just turned 40 in January.
Yeah.
Um, so we're about the same age, and, we're all very successful, right? We're like equals
Yeah,
in our
totally.
things
Yeah.
that we do.
Yeah. Yeah, you're one of the
We're all
greatest of all time. Yeah.
I'm a go in what I do.
Mhm.
Shout out my 8 to 10 watchers right now. Um,
Hey, pops.
um, and it's crazy to think like in 20 years, could this be the Sharks, with so much young talent? I mean, Ovechkin changed that franchise like overnight. As soon as he took the ice, like he changed it. And
Mhm.
it took a little while for them to start like winning and things like and like really become competitive. But like with the Sharks, you have, Will Smith, you have Celebrini, you have Dickinson. You have Eklund, who are also first round draft picks, and you're going to get another one
Get
very
another
soon.
2 this year.
You get another one, but
Mhm.
you could get the top defenseman in Matthew Schaefer,
Yeah.
and that's a guy that's going to start right away. So then you're talking about next year.
Mhm.
You got Celebrini, you got Will Smith, you got Matthew Schaefer and Sam Dickinson on
Possibly.
the
Yep.
defensive side.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
the,
and
these guys
oh,
over the course of 10 years developing
mhm.
together,
Yeah,
dude,
it takes longer for defensemen to get seasoning down in the minors, generally speaking. But you look at Schaefer, who's slated to be a top 3 guy at the very least. Like
right,
depending on who's picking where,
right.
that's a guy that could, in theory, start right away. I think about Mark-Edouard Vlasic, who's
Yeah,
playing out the end of his career. He was an 18-year-old playing a defenseman, like a defensive minded defenseman.
right.
And he was basically locked down. And yeah, it hasn't been great for Mark-Edouard Vlasic. Pickles has had a rough go of it the last few years, but when he was in his prime, he was on the gold medal Canadian Olympic team for a
Right.
reason in 2010, man, because he was one of the top 2 shut down defensemen at the time. The Sharks in 2014, when they got reverse swept against the LA Kings, that happened because early in Game 5, Mark-Edouard Vlasic had to leave the game for an injury and couldn't play the rest of the series. If he finishes that game, I don't know if the Sharks win that game, but I'll tell you what, they don't blow either of the next 2 games, because he was that good. He was
Yeah,
that important. And a chance to get a chance to like get somebody to play defense that well, that young, that early, and have them play what you hope would be their entire career here in Teal. That opportunity is excellent. It's amazing, and I hope that it happens, man. This is it. Like I said,
and the Sharks have been a franchise that have taken care of their veterans, taken care of
Mhm,
their players, and
that's right.
done, the honoring and stuff, the Ring of Honor and Jersey Knights and all of these things. So, the Sharks, they're still chasing that Stanley Cup, but as an organization, they have done a really good job of drafting, developing, re-signing, and honoring their legends, right? The only thing that's missing now is a Stanley Cup. And I feel like it's going to happen in 5 years. Within 5 years,
I
I
would
think
hope, yeah.
something is going to happen because the talent around this team is
Mhm.
mind blowing. So, uh,
Oddly
for-
enough, I'm just thinking of this right now. The LA Kings, it took the LA Kings about 40 years to get their first Stanley Cup. Okay. The Sharks are at about 35 years right now. Or they're approaching year 35, not this coming season, but the season after.
right,
Um, so like the path that they're on, they could, in theory, reach the Stanley Cup, like, win a Stanley Cup. And then if they do it in the next 5 to 7 years or so, that's right around the same timeline. I think about the big Sharks, team with Jumbo and Patty and Pavelski and Pickles and all these guys. Um, that was, in terms of where the timeline was, that's right around the time that Wayne Gretzky showed up in LA,
right.
and the Kings didn't end up winning the Stanley Cup with Gretzky, but damn, did they make a lot of noise. Damn, did they make hockey cool in sunny Los Angeles. And that's kind of, we saw a lot of winning. And oh, hey,
Oh,
look at that. We've got a visitor.
with terrible signal.
because there's no place for me. But that's okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to
So
say what's up, guys.
yeah,
I want to
Tyler
wish you guys a
is,
really good show today.
yeah, we're having fun. It looks like Tyler's walking through the airport.
Yeah.
Yep. You're in Arizona right now, right?
Oh no,
With your
hold on. Give me one second. That's my
yeah.
microphone. Let me get my.
There we go.
There we are.
So, there we go. How you guys doing, man?
There you go. What's up?
There it is. Hey.
Yeah, man. I know Tim, our town guy, is really mad at me because there's no audio place for me, or at least a video place for me. But I just wanted to wish you guys a good
Yeah,
show,
we
man.
we figured it out. We got you on.
Yeah, we got
Okay.
everybody can see
I've
you
already
and hear you
got.
now.
I got a fan texting me saying the one time I tune in, you're not even in the damn show. So I'm sorry, Fahad, but now I'm in the show, bud. So
There it is.
so,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, guys, I'm catching the plane from Arizona. It's been great. I went golfing out here, caught a spring training game, absolute blast here, and yeah, man, I love every bit of it. So
Right
I'll be
on.
back on next week with you guys. I just want to wish you guys a good show, and I'll catch you guys next week. Okay.
Yep. Thanks,
All right,
brother.
right on, man.
Cool. Later, guys.
All right, later. And there he is, live from the airport. Was Tyler dropping in saying hi real quick?
I called from Japan. I called
Yeah.
from Japan. Just you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meet
Okay.
me, halfway
the
around
bar,
the world.
the bar has been raised. I will make every effort to call in next week when I'm in Disney. So
You got to
there
be
we
at the
are.
top of the castle, Vince. Like I want to see you from the window waving
Right.
a FJF flag at
Right. Yeah, that won't get me kicked out of Disney on my freaking birthday trip. Yeah, that'll be a great memory.
Vince, to close a little bit on the Sharks.
Yeah.
We've talked about all the young talent and how exciting and how much Mike Greer's built it through the draft and trades and all of that. But they also cleaned house on the salary cap. So
Mhm.
there is an opportunity that the Sharks are going to be able to retain a very large amount of their own talent, but also just in case if they are in a playoff scenario and they can add a superstar, they're going to have the cap room. If some type of superstar becomes available and the Sharks feel like if they can make a trade, um, they have options. Because
Yeah.
their salary cap is clean. They got a ton of draft capital still, and they got more talent coming in. So they're going to have a good problem in a couple of years where they're going to be log jammed at a lot of different areas of talent where they may have to they may be in a situation where players are asking for a trade because they want an opportunity to compete and get to the NHL because the Sharks are becoming that deep of a talent pool. So very interesting to see what they're going to do with the roster, but very exciting. They suck right now, but they're going to be good next year and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. With that, I think we're gonna move on to football now. Normally we do football at the top of the show, but it's kind of the slow time for football, so it kind of made sense to since we're just talking about some news and notes here. We're first off, the 49ers released fullback Kyle Juszczyk on Tuesday, but then on Saturday morning, I wake up, I'm like just on my phone doing my thing, and then I get this alert saying 49ers have signed fullback Kyle Juszczyk to a 2-year, $8 million deal. And the first thing I sent was the Leonardo DiCaprio gif saying, "I'm not effing leaving." I sent that to you, and then wouldn't you know it, I actually go on to Juszczyk's Instagram, and there's a picture of him in the Niners uniform, and it's like, "I ain't leaving. I'm not leaving." So it's been a rough offseason for the Niners. A lot of people have left. It feels good to keep one, It feels good to keep one. So
Yeah.
he gets to stay. We get to see more fire clothing designs from his wife Kristen too. She gets to keep putting cool Niners like jerseys and stuff into different freaking pants or whatever, man. Like yeah. So that part's cool. George Kittle gets to keep his best buddy too. So everybody's happy there.
That's what it was about.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's the friendships, right? It's the
Yeah.
friends we made along the way.
I think what's interesting with the 49ers, you said it, is like it's really good players leaving. And I don't want to say it's like the Niners' fault. Like there's a lot of players that got a lot of money. Like the players that the 49ers lost, they got good paychecks. And I think what's concerning is how they're filling those holes.
Right.
you don't want to win the free agency war like like the Patriots did. Okay, they won in March,
Yeah.
but is that going to lead to a really good team? The Patriots signed they signed Robert Spillane, and as the Raider fan here, it was sad to see him go, but that's a linebacker that was still on a 4-win team, so those players got paid out a lot. So I just think what I'm getting at is the free agent class was kind of weak,
Mhm.
and the guys that were considered top of the free agent pool got paid, and they probably got overpaid, and the 49ers were just not willing to
Yeah.
overpay even for their own guys. And I also think for their salary cap, if you look at what they're doing with their salary cap, they're taking on a lot of dead money this year,
Mhm.
and I think they're trying to reset the books a little bit,
Yeah.
and
The
it's
this feels
threading a
like
needle.
yeah, it almost feels like,
If you're a
they're
Ram
they're
fan, Vince,
voluntary.
if you're a Ram fan, you feel good about your team because they bit the
Mhm.
bullet. They took all the dead money over the past couple of years, but they drafted
Mhm.
really well, and now
Yep.
next year they look
Mhm.
pretty good on paper.
Yeah, and I think the Niners are kind of on a similar trajectory. I think they're almost deliberately closing the window on after what happened last year. This year they're closing the window. Like they're keeping it closed again on themselves this year. With the idea of once you get the Brock Purdy contract, because that's the biggest money piece right there, right? You get that settled, you figure out what Brock's money is, and then you can work around everything else. And I think now that you settle Brock, and then the rest of it can kind of start falling into place, and you can open up the window again yourself maybe in 2026. So I'm starting to think 2025 isn't going to happen for the Niners. We'll see what happens in the draft. If they hit on a lot of these guys, I mean, you're not going to hit on everybody, but if you hit on especially the first, like, 2 or 3 picks, those high leverage first day 1, day 2 draft picks, top 3 rounds, like that's where the big money is. Like, because if
Yeah,
those guys hit, those are team altering hits, like
absolutely.
those guys are picked earlier in the draft because they have the potential to change your franchise forever, you know
I mean,
so
and that's
and
one
they
thing about
can.
this draft class is that it is deep. It's not deep at like quarterback. It's not deep
Mhm.
at like wide receiver, but it's extremely deep at running back. It's deep
Yep.
at offensive line, defensive
And
line, edge,
yep.
linebackers.
Yeah.
It is a deep class, and I feel like it's a deep class for the Raiders and the 49ers. I think the Raiders are going to
Mhm.
covet linebackers, defensive backs,
Mhm.
running back, wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think, the Raiders, if the quarterback that they want is there at 6, they may take him or maybe in a later round. But I think you got 9 spots on the Raiders that you need to plug, and you
Mhm.
got so many picks. So you're trying to just build the best roster you can, best
Mhm.
player available every round. And I think the 49ers are in a similar position. You got Robert Saleh back. You need to
Mhm.
rebuild the linebacker room. You got to rebuild the defensive back room.
Yep.
And you can never have enough defensive line and offensive
Yeah.
lines. So
The Niners also traded Jordan Mason and a
that
2025
was
sixth
weird.
round pick to Minnesota for a
But they
2025
tendered him
fifth.
as a second round pick.
Yeah, see, they did that so that way they could control basically
Right.
what they did with them. They did something similar with Matt Breida years ago. It was a similar thing. They gave him a high tender, and then they ended up trading him to the Giants, I believe, for like a 5th rounder or something like that. So that's it's not unheard of, and I don't even think somebody else did almost the exact same thing this offseason too. I can't remember who it was, but it was a similar maneuver. So the Niners may actually grab one of these running backs too, somebody to play behind Christian McCaffrey, because behind him you got Isaac Garindo looked really good in the couple of games he played, but he also got injured because he's small. And then after that, it's Patrick Taylor. And so the cupboard's kind of bare at running back right now for the 49ers, outside of Christian McCaffrey, obviously. So
Well, they're definitely taking a running back in the
yeah,
draft.
I would
for
think
sure.
so. And if the right running back falls to them at the right spot, like if there's somebody in the second round or the third round that they believe in, I wholeheartedly believe that they're going to grab them. And I don't think they're going to spend the first round pick on a running back, because that's not something that you do in the
No.
NFL anymore. But if there's a really good guy at second in the second round, that might be it, man. They might do it. They might pull the trigger on that one. So, and if they do that, that's a guy that you may want to like pencil that in for your
sure.
dynasty fantasy
sure.
drafts. If you play dynasty, if you're a real degenerate that does that.
I'm gonna sneak this name in here, Vince, because
Yeah.
it didn't make the docket, but an old name joins the Raiders, running back,
Oh yeah.
former Miami guy.
Oh, that's
He's
right. I
now a
did
Raider.
remember that. Yeah. So it
Our
was
old friend
Raheem
Mostert.
Mostert. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just gonna be a depth guy.
Yeah.
But good for him.
He's-
Someone we can 49er fans and Raider fans could cheer for. He was
Yeah.
always a good guy, good running
Mhm.
back, but he had some injury problems. But hey, 2 years ago, he was very productive in Miami. So
Oh yeah,
you never know.
absolutely. And he got that contract in Miami because he was uber productive for the Niners.
Absolutely.
Daniel Jones, quarterback to Indianapolis on a 1-year deal. If Daniel Jones ends up starting for the Colts, that means Anthony Richardson is a bust. So
I heard
so it's
Pittsburgh
on-
is actually trying to trade for Anthony Richardson.
You think so?
That's
Oh,
what I heard that on like NFL sites, like people talking.
Okay.
and
Okay.
that
Yeah. I
they're
mean,
actually trying.
yeah, I wouldn't have picked Anthony Richardson. I didn't think it was rhyming too much with Trey Lance for me, for my taste. So yeah, but he's just not accurate though. Like Anthony Richardson,
But he
is
should
just
have been a
not-
guy that was treated like, I'll say Jordan Love. He should have sat for a year, 2 years,
Mhm.
and developed passing, because he's an elite runner, but he needs to learn how to pass and read.
Yeah.
And he's not. I don't think he's going to be able to do that while he's also trying to be a starter. So I don't know. He has a ton of talent. He has a bazooka of an arm. It's just
Yeah.
the accuracy.
Yeah,
There's
he
no
was
touch.
under 50% passing percentage, completion percentage. That's unacceptable in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you're not, especially with how much they dink and dunk now too, because the prevalence of the West Coast offense. If you can't dump it off to your to your running backs, those are high percentage passes, right? And if you're still under 50%, that's not good, man. Not good. You can't.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
And then the
and-
injuries.
Yeah,
And
the
then
injuries
just the amount
also.
of abuse that he takes while running the
Mhm.
ball is just not
Yeah,
healthy.
so it had bust written all over it. That's why I avoided him in my fantasy drafts. Thank Lord I did. Let's see. The Eagles trading cornerback CJ Gardner-Johnson and a 2026 6th round pick to Houston for offensive lineman Kenyon Green and a 2026 5th round pick. Eagles are getting more help on their offensive line that was already stupendous. So damn you, Tyler. The Bengals, they get contract extensions completed for their superstar wide receivers Jamar Chase and T Higgins. Both of them get 4 years. Jamar Chase is getting 161 million, T Higgins 115. Obviously, not all of that is guaranteed. I think the first 2 years for T Higgins are guaranteed fully, and I think Jamar Chase is like 75% of it is guaranteed, something like that. Yeah,
and Trey
that was
Hendrickson's over here on the side, like, what am I, chopped liver? Where's
Joe
my
Burrow.
money?
Joe Burrow, really excited to have both of his toys back next year. So that's great. Great for the Bengals. Now, if they could just not start off terribly, they could make the playoffs and make some
What
noise.
would you give up to trade for Trey Hendrickson, though? Dude, he is an animal,
Yeah.
and he's asking for a trade.
Yeah, that's
Oh my god.
kind of enticing.
Because
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to be able to sign him.
probably not. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. That you just paid all that money to the wide receivers.
And the quarterback.
The quarterback Joe Burrow's already got his got his bag too. So like, yeah, they're I don't know, man. It's gonna be
He's going to be the
it's
next
always interesting, right?
giant
So
domino to fall.
yeah. So and the Texans gave a 3-year, $90 million extension to their lockdown cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. That's a record for the quarterback position,
Yeah.
so that's why I included it. So 30 mil
Yeah.
a year for a cornerback. Oh
Ouch.
man, it's good money if you can get it, man. That's
Ouch.
great. Yeah. Mothers, don't let your children grow up to be running backs. Make them be cornerbacks instead.
And that's
you know,
only possible because of the rookie contract that CJ Stroud is on.
that's right. You know, rookie contracts, man. When you're not on it, you got to start paying all these other guys too, and it's tougher to do that.
Rookie contract for the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Okay. So, anything else for football, or are we good to move from the gridiron to the pitch?
No,
Let's-
man, I'm just super excited for the draft now.
Yeah.
I've been watching
Good.
all of every day I do my PFF draft simulator. Do you ever do this? You're not a
No.
crazy draft person like me? Oh my
No,
God.
no. I
It's
let
like
I let
one of the
other.
first 3 or 4 things I do when I wake up and I'm fiddling with my phone is doing my 3-round mock draft. So
Oh man. Yeah. No.
very excited.
Me, I'm more of the Wordle, the daily puzzle type guys
Okay.
when I wake up. That's
right.
more my speed.
Very fair.
Yeah, crossword and stuff like that. Anyway, so let's move over to soccer. We're going to talk Wrexham real quick. Normally that's Tyler's thing, but I do want to keep you guys updated. They take the L 2-0 at Reading on Tuesday, but then they come back. They beat Wycombe on Saturday 1-0, and with that win against Wycombe, they leap in front of Wycombe. They are now second place in EFL League One, and the top two get automatic promotion. So this is where Wrexham wants to be, right? You got the next game is against Stockport. Stockport is right around they're in the top half of the league. They're the old friends from the National League that got promoted the year before Wrexham did. So they're fighting their way, like trying to get up to the championship as well, but they're not quite going to get it done this year. But Wrexham still could. So that's what we want to see, the back to back. It's a chance at history, right? So you get the win at Stockport this coming week. That really goes a long way, especially because it's at home. Paul Mullen still hasn't been playing though, which is interesting. They've been relying on other players. There's actually articles like on the Athletic specifically talking about maybe Paul Mullins doesn't get the Hollywood exit, the Hollywood ending. So we don't know. Maybe something's brewing there. We'll see. We'll see if Wrexham gets promoted first, and
Right.
if they do get promoted, is Paul Mullins somebody that they try to move in the in the summer transfer window. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so I did something a little new with the graphics. If you're watching on YouTube, I actually put the I got the logo like I normally do, but then I also put, because soccer only needs, just the one, the one, maybe 2 games. I did put the expected goals and just like the cards and stuff like that too. So you can see that in that game against Reading, they probably should have been a 1-1 draw. Reading was a little bit more fortunate. They were expected to get 1.48 goals. They ended up getting 2. Wrexham got none on 1.35 expected goals. So a little bit unlucky. And Reading also finished the last 15 minutes of the game on a red card. So Wrexham certainly had the opportunity to make some noise, but didn't quite work out. Then you look at the Wycombe game. That one, Wrexham was under half a goal expected. They ended up winning 1-0. off a 78th minute goal by Smith. Wycombe was expected to get 3/4 of a goal, so it should have probably been a 1-1 draw, maybe a 1-0 win for Wycombe if you look at expected goals, and that's sort of a more advanced stat that they're starting to use now. So kind of look at that going forward, and it's just that's one of the easier ones to kind of help you paint the picture a little bit about how the game really went, because sometimes you just get lucky, a lucky break, and we'll talk about that lucky break in our the next thing we talk about, which is Bay FC.
So with Vince, let me talk.
yeah.
I don't know how this is off the cuff question, but like
Yeah.
with Wrexham, we know about this. We know the story of them like going up each league. Like every year, it's been an annual thing. And they're doing it where they got some good players. You referenced Paul Mullen. Is this coaching? Is this because it's not like every few years you hear about a soccer club, moving up the charts like this. So this is kind of
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a one-off, but it doesn't
It's a
happen
little
all the
bit,
time.
and it definitely does not happen at this level. I can see it happening. There's like 9 tiers of soccer in England. So like it's definitely possible for a team to go like if you're like in the bottom tier and you just happen to put together a really good team, you could jump from 9 to 8 to 7, to maybe even sneak into the 6th tier in like, successive years. So that is possible, at the lower tiers. I don't know of any time that it's happened, but also those are all considered semi-professional tiers. Anything below 4th tier is considered semi-pro. It's not real like professional level. So you're not going to find much tracking on that. For it to happen from 5th tier to 4 to 3 and then fighting possibly getting up to the 2nd tier, it's more than just coaching. It is coaching is part of it for sure. It's also players, it's also ownership, and it's also so that's basically what we're seeing is owners new owners came in willing to spend some money, willing to put some, cachet behind it, behind the entire project, wanting to see this team do well, and they have buy-in from the fans as well, is the other thing, because the moves that they have made have by and large worked out. So that's the other bonus part is you get a lot of a longer leash when things are going well, right? And that's kind of where it comes down to, is it comes down to ownership, getting the right coach that can push the right buttons. Wrexham is still winning a lot of these games even without Paul Mullen. So
Right.
maybe in the long term, Paul Mullen's extension through 2027 that he signed after the prior season, maybe that ends up being not a good thing. Maybe they're able to move out of it if they need to. Maybe Paul Mullen comes back and finds his time again and is back scoring and everything's all honky-dory. Everything's great. Who knows? We don't know what the future holds necessarily. But because they've had so few missteps, the owners are spending money and they're spending it well, is what it really comes down to. They're spending on the coach. They got Phil Parkinson. When they hired him, like, he had coached at the Premiership, before. So he's been with them basically with this ownership group. So that's really what it comes down to. Is
The coach knows what it looks like, knows what it smells like. He's been there, done that, and I mean it's amazing to see come together. Unfortunately, I can't see a lot of the games. I only see like little clips and episodic things from the show, but it's been hell of a ride to watch over the past few years. So
yeah. I mean, we have experience with bad owners. It's kind of nice to see what good owners could do.
absolutely.
So let's now switch gears to Bay FC. Let's come back home. The season has started, and they get the draw at Utah 1-1. That was on Saturday. So the way this worked, this is actually Utah and Bay FC both came into the league last season together. They're both expansion teams. Utah actually beat Bay FC both games last season. So this year, to get a draw out of them, that's the first time they've taken points against Utah. So that's actually kind of huge. Utah is a team that is also improved over last year, so they should be challenging for a playoff spot. Bay FC was able to make the playoffs last year. They hope to make some noise in the playoffs. So both teams are, they're new. They're on their trajectory is up. Okay, so now to the game itself. In the 12th minute, Utah got their first goal. Goalkeeper Mandy McGlynn, off of a set piece in Utah's own zone, she sends the ball deep to Bianca St. George, who then finishes the goal past the keeper. Nothing Silkowitz could really do about that one. In the 36th minute, Rachel Kundananji got a yellow card for a couple of over aggressive plays. Basically, she kept stepping on Utah players' feet, and soccer players don't like their feet getting stomped on. Who would have thought? Rachel Kundananji is a really she's a physical player. She really likes to get in there, and she kind of extends the elbows a little bit and gets caught sometimes. She goes after the ball, and sometimes she misses and catches a foot. It happens. Not the end of the world, but also you don't like to see too many yellow cards. So hopefully, she keeps it just on this side of the line. We don't want her stepping over too much. Bay FC did get the tying goal in the 44th minute. So what happened was there was a set play in Bay FC attacking zone. The ball was sent in toward the 18-yard box line. Joelle Anderson receives the ball. She drops it with her back to net. She drops it back to about 24, 25 yards. And then Kiki Pickett, with a laser beam from about 25 yards out, beats the goalie. Nothing Mandy McGlynn could do about that one either. And it was off of the crossbar. Probably going to get goal of the week, man. It was beautiful. If you have the opportunity, go on to Blue Sky and watch it, man, because that was wild. So that was how the scoring happened. And when you the rest of the league at large, you had 3 wins. Orlando got a big blowout win. Washington looked good, and Kansas City got a win, I believe, too. But everybody else, 4 games, 4 1-1 draws. So basically, Bay FC is kind of after one game, they're tied for 4th in the league, because there's 8 teams tied for 4th because 8 teams played to a 1-1 draw. So early season fun statistics like that. We used to talk about how in baseball you'd see guys with batting 666 or whatever. And then 2 days later they're batting 400, and then another day later they're batting 583. Because early in the year you can have crazy things like that. It's kind of the same thing that's happening with the standings in the league. I'm not going to worry too much about the standings this early in the season. There is still 25 games left to go. So their next match is at home against Racing Louisville. That is on Saturday. And that game's at 7 p.m. So going to be excited to catch the stats on that one, because I'll be in Disneyland, won't be able to watch that one. So I'll have to watch the playback later.
Hey, Vince, did you see the graphics coming out, the renderings for Bay FC's
I did. Yeah,
home,
the new
home office and training facility?
Training facility on Treasure Island. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah. The only issue I can see, at least right now, I don't know how they'll solve it, is getting there. So either you'll have team housing on site at Treasure Island, or you'd have to have either they'd have to pay San Francisco rent pricing, or they'll have to live in Oakland or across the bridge and pay the bridge toll every day to get to work, to get to training. So I mean, other people do it all the time. Athletes can do it too. Sure, no problem.
There's a
get
ton
that,
of
but
housing being built there too. I think they're building a giant skyscraper with 20,000 apartments in there. So I just think it's really cool that finally something is going to happen to Treasure Island, because my entire lifetime it's been a abandoned
Yeah,
nothing
Ben and
burger.
yeah, yeah, it's just been there,
So finally
doing
it's
nothing.
something. So very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. One more BFC note. The captains were named for this season. You have Abby Dahlkemper and Tess Bodie. Abby wore the armband in the first game of the season, and I would foresee that Abby would probably be the person wearing the armband most of the time. Tess will get an armband here or there, especially if Abby has to step out of the game. But I think they're both excellent choices. Obviously, Abby Dahlkemper, former U.S. Women's National Team defender, and Tess Bodie actually wore the armband probably like 3 or 4 times last season uh, before Emily Menges ended up holding on to it for the rest of the year. So she's kind of was in that leadership core already, and she was kind of an underutilized player when she was at North Carolina Courage. So she's not only got a chance last year to show what she's got, she's also she kind of became the straw that stirs the drink a little bit. Abby Dahlkemper on defense, and then Tess in the midfield, and then kind of attacking as a forward occasionally too. So really excited for that. One last NWSL note: Boss Nation FC is officially ditching that stupid ass name, and so they're going to unveil a new name in a few weeks. The rollout was terrible. The name needed way too much explanation. It's actually an anagram of Bostonian, but you had to keep saying that, and it's like that's stupid. No, stop it. So, and nobody liked the name anyway. So there's going to be a new name. They're actually listening to the fans that are going to attend these games. They're also still trying to work out. They have a location in mind for their home games. There's still some stuff to work out with the city to get that finalized, but hopefully they have a name that doesn't suck. I'm hoping for Boston Breakers, because that was the name of the team before in a couple of different iterations. I'm hoping they can acquire the name. They couldn't do it before because there was like whoever owned the name didn't want to give it up. I'm hoping that they can work out some deal to make it happen, man, because I think Boston Breakers is a much better name than Boss Nation FC. So
Boss Nation.
Boss Nation, it's done. Never again. So
Oh my God.
So you got 2 expansion teams coming in 2026 in Boston and in Denver. Both of them don't have names yet. Officially, both of them don't have names yet. They're working on that. So I would expect probably by midseason they'd have the names announced. Maybe even sooner. Hopefully we don't have to wait too long, because you want to start getting attention. You want to start hyping it up. You want to have start getting season tickets holders.
Did the Utah Hockey Club ever get a name, or what are they?
Not yet. That name has not been finalized yet. I think they'll announce it at the end of the year.
I see.
Is the plan. Right. So there was a fan vote as well on that. So
I heard it can't be the Yeti because of the brand.
Yeah, because the Yeti cups,
right.
They threw a little fit, and
right.
Who the hell is going to confuse? I think it is stupid of Yeti to complain about this. Are you kidding me? Think of the branding opportunities, man.
Right. Yeah.
So dumb. Anyway, all right. So let's. I think that's it. I mean, there was a couple of notes here on baseball. Do we want to talk about them, or do we want to save them?
I saw what you had here, and I say we do it.
Let's just rip this Band-Aid off then. Okay, so on about a week ago now, reports were emerging that the MLB commissioner and several owners were pressuring Stu Sternberg to sell the Rays as buyers eye the team. For starters, where was this energy for the Athletics? And I'll tell you where that energy is because the Rays have withdrawn from their already approved stadium plan at St. Petersburg, next to the current site of Tropicana Field. Obviously, they can't use Tropicana right now because Mother Nature had other plans. Love that picture? Yeah, I love that picture too. We kept the John Fisher clown one, but I found one with Rob Manfred in his clown nose and clown wig as well. Crappy Photoshop job, but that it is. But still, have fun with it. Anyway, so basically, I think what's happening here is Rob Manfred and the owners are pissed that he's turning down already approved money. is what it is. That's really what it comes down to, right? It's the money at the end of the deal, at the end of the day. So that's great. I will say that the Oakland Roots have 20,000 tickets sold for their opening night game coming up this weekend, this Saturday. And that's going to be more than what the Quakes had at any of their games this year. And it's more than what the A's can actually even hold in their temporary stadium, which is only can hold about 14,000. So turns out
I
you
love how all
can,
the articles for the A's are like, there is such a demand for the Sacramento A's tickets. Well, they could only hold 14, 15,000.
yeah, and
That's, I mean, now
they are the most,
you're praising the A's for getting 14,000 people
yeah,
into their stadium when you criticize them in Oakland for getting 14, 15, 17,000. Where, just real quick about the A's is that
mhm,
over 20, 30 years, you traded away every player. You never signed anyone. You never did a damn thing. And apathy set in. People were just pissed. They were sick of it, tired of it, didn't want to support it because they were. What was the joke, Vince? You can never buy a jersey with the name on it because you couldn't
mhm,
have a favorite player. Well,
yep,
that matters. That
yeah,
matters. And now, because you're still trying to work out this cockamamie deal to go to Las Vegas or maybe stay in Sacramento, and we don't know what the hell we're doing, but either way, we can't have a dog poop team. Let's go sign some people. This is what the Oakland fan has been asking for 30 years is just sign a few players. Maybe you hold on to Barry Zito and you don't trade Hudson. Maybe one of them had to go, but all three? Like,
I know, right?
you have a press conference to say, hey, Miguel Tejada, you're the MVP. You're great. And if you stick around, you're going to be the all-time leader in everything A's shortstop. But we're not going to sign you. So we're going to have a press conference to say that you're too good and we can't offer you a competitive salary. So here's your little song and dance. Who holds a press conference for a major league franchise to say, sorry, we can't sign you. We don't have the money. It's just been a 30-year hit job by ownership, by MLB, and just John Fisher's just a terrible owner. Look at the Earthquakes. He's mismanaging the Earthquakes. They're
Mhm,
already talking crap about the stadium, and it's not good enough, and we need a new stadium to get fans here. No, the fans were engaged and
mhm,
you let the team just die on the vine. So you
yep.
never invested in it. And
Uh,
now
uh,
you're trying to do this in Sacramento, which is just nonsense, which just, there's more owners like this in MLB than any other sport. And it's awful.
Yeah, Bay FC plays at the same stadium as the Earthquakes, and Bay FC has no problem getting fans there. Bay FC is
Exactly.
near the top of the
Exactly.
NWSL in terms of just number of people attending games last season, and I expect that number to be equal or even grow this coming year because the team made the playoffs in their first year, and Rachel Kundanaji put on a show, especially standing on the
Exactly.
ball, doing the get over here, going full Mortal Kombat. So, before doing some really cool trickery with the ball. So there's excitement there for the sport of soccer. There's excitement, if you know how to handle it, if you're a good enough owner, you can get people to that stadium that you built. And I actually I actually heard Lynn Biondolo talk about that she actually kind of likes Bay FC Stadium. She likes the Earthquake Stadium, playing on it because it's kind of cool that you have that really long bar at the end, like the end line bar, whatever it's
Right.
called, the scoreboard bar. Yeah, so it's the longest outdoor bar in North America,
Yeah.
was at the time it opened. So that's kind of a cool thing. And so, like, so you have players that talk about this, players that are currently playing, saying that's a kind of a cool feature. I like that. So, like, there are good things about the stadium, even if you hate it. Even if you hate what you built, there's at least some stuff there. There's meat on the bone. There's stuff there. Like, you can make some changes, but like,
You're
there's some good
absolutely
stuff,
correct,
man.
and it's not just soccer, it's the whole region, that
Hmm.
there are millions of people in not just San Francisco and Oakland. When people say, Oakland has no fans. No, dude, it's the surrounding area. And most of these people who talk nonsense do not understand the region and what the East Bay is and the extended East Bay and the North Bay. They don't
Mhm.
understand how easy it is to get from anywhere in the East Bay Area to Oakland. It's very easy to get to. It's just that the ownership has never made it a priority to win. You know, like, and I know everybody's going to point to the Raiders that, the Raiders they didn't even have fans there. That was some stupid cockamamie thing that the Raiders and the NFL did with these blackout things. It wasn't like the Raiders were getting 10,000 people in an NFL stadium. They were getting 50, 60,000, but because of the stadium being like 66,000, they had to be within a percentage to avoid the blackout. 50,000 people were showing up to a Raiders game, even when they stunk. It
Mhm.
was the ownership couldn't, Mark Davis and Al Davis, they couldn't win. That was the problem. They couldn't
Yeah.
win, but the
If,
fans were there.
if they won,
It
like
would have,
on a consistent basis, they would have got
they would
that
have sold
last
out.
they would have got that last 3 or 4% that they were missing to push them over
Exactly.
the edge. They
But
were
it
like,
wasn't like
yeah.
the A's comparison of like you have a 60, 50,000 seat stadium and you're getting 12. It was a different thing. You know, with the A's, the ownership wasn't focused on winning. With all due respect to Mark Davis, he wants to win. He just doesn't know anything about football. He's tried, it's just blown up in his face over and over again. And it sucks, but it happened. He's committed to winning. It just hasn't worked out in his favor, and that's really sad.
Mhm.
The A's have just refused to sign players. The A's have
Mhm.
just refused to keep players, retain
Yep.
players, try to
Mhm.
buy out arbitration years ahead to extend them and try to get them on a team friendly deal. They have
Mhm.
refused to win,
And
Vince, and
and
that's the
now
major difference.
all of a sudden they're in Sacramento at a 14,000 seat stadium. Now all of a sudden they can start handing out contracts. Now Eric Chavez is no longer the highest dollar money player
Well, they have to
contract ever.
now
Now
because
you got, I mean, yeah, obviously with the players union filing the grievance,
absolutely.
so
But
that's
I think
basically
it's
what it comes
also
down to.
I think it's the grievances. I think it's, what's at stake for a future stadium, wherever that
Mhm.
may be, and wherever America, whoever's going to pay the most money to get the A's there. But I also think there is some of it is coming from other owners of like, we have given you millions of dollars a year of welfare. Where's the money? What have you done with it? Because now you're harming the product. You're harming the product overall. And the Rays are now doing the same thing. A third of the league is starting to do the same thing. I haven't watched baseball. I have no plans to watch baseball. Um, uh, Let me rephrase. I have no plans to watch Major League Baseball. I'm I'm
Yeah,
I'm out.
yeah. Same, man. Like, I mean, I mean, I just looked it up. Lawrence Butler just got a 7-year, $65.5 million
Good
extension.
for him.
Good for him. I'm glad that,
Glad for the players.
yeah, exactly. And this is when we're talking shit about John Fisher, or we're talking shit about the Athletics. We're not talking shit about the players themselves. This isn't on the players. It's never been about the players. I want nothing but the best for those guys. It breaks my heart that I have to be this like, like extremely um degradatory against the,
Vince, let
just
me
it
if
sucks.
if
But
if the A's were still in Oakland and
mhm.
this deal was done, I'd probably be buying a Butler jersey.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
honestly, yeah.
that's the thing is that if you
It,
sign Matt Olson,
mhm.
you're buying the jersey.
If he had behaved like this in Oakland, we wouldn't be having a problem here. This wouldn't
Right.
be a discussion. We may be, cutting the ribbons in a year or two on Howard Terminal, like if he had
And the other thing that
taken
no
it
one ever wants to
seriously.
talk about, the A's owned half the stadium.
Yep.
They own half the stadium, and they never approach the city of Oakland or the county to say, "Hey, you know what? We want to buy the whole thing. We're going to build here, or we're going to stay half, you stay half, but we got to draw up some boundary lines. We got to draw up that we're going to own the stadium and the arena. That's part of our business plan." They never tried to do anything. And what was Dave Cavell talking about for years and years and years? There was the conception, there was the idea, which he said on record, that said, we need to own the current Coliseum site to fund Howard Terminal. And then a couple years later, he goes, no, 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 no. The current Coliseum site is a backstop. It's a guarantee so that the A's can stay in Oakland. Howard Terminal is the goal, but if we can't get Howard Terminal done, we're gonna have the Coliseum and we're gonna have a home here. You owned half of it.
Yeah. I mean,
You owned half of it.
It just goes to show that this was they had no
They
intention
never had
of
intention. So
of actually getting it done. And that's why we say FJF here.
Yep.
You know, that's why. And it's Oakland Coliseum on this hat. It's not Oakland Athletics, you know,
for sure.
because the Oakland Athletics don't exist anymore. So that's what it is, man.
I know you
It
got one
sucks.
more note, and I have my
Oh,
answer
you know what? I think
already.
we can save that. I think we can save it for Tyler. That's fine.
All right.
All right. So we're already way overdue. So I think it's time to wrap this up, dude. Let's go.
Bonus
and close this out.
content.
Yeah, that's right.
Go Warriors.
All right. So yeah, I guess we're I'll close it. Thanks for listening. And yeah, FJF, hit the button for when we go live. Slide into the DMs. Love y'all. Have a great day. Talk to you later.